From career shifts to empty nests, this episode is going to explore what it means to navigate life's big transitions. Meet Sam, hear a little bit about my story, and find yourself in the in-between spaces we all walk through.
Welcome back to Season 7, Episode 3. We're glad you're here. Before we go on any longer, I want to tell you that if you have not listened to episodes 1 and 2 of this season, I want to encourage you to go back because those 2 episodes kind of set up this episode, because today I'm joined by Raina and by Sam, who is our new Inspired Director. Yes. Hello.
Hi.
Raina's back on the Inspired podcast.
So excited.
And so we're just excited to hear about Sam. I think that the buildup of episodes 1 and 2, we alluded to that, we've talked about how this whole season is titled Transitions. And then last episode, we mentioned that Inspired was undergoing a transition. And so we announced last episode that you're the new Inspired Director.
Yes.
And you're going to be taking the reins with Inspired. And I know that you're going to take it great places. And so I think that everybody just wants to hear about you. And so I know that sounds really broad.
Yeah.
But we want to hear about you.
Yes.
So kind of just tell us a little bit about who you are, where you come from, and why you're here.
Yeah. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. Thank you for bringing me on the podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
And letting me share a little bit about my story.
Yeah.
I'm Sam.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in Northeast Ohio. So I'm originally from Ohio and have moved around a little bit, but ended up back in Columbus after college and after having an opportunity.
Where in Northeast Ohio?
Maslin.
Okay.
Go Tigers.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, it's near Akron, Canton area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my family still lives up there. I went to college at Muskingum College at the time. It's now Muskingum University. Got my degree in English and Communications. Okay. I actually felt called into ministry at a young age. I was in high school, and I recently found my journal entry where I wrote, I heard God's voice for the very first time.
Oh, wow.
And it was kind of in the middle of like real girl diary moments of like, I have a crush on this boy. And right in the middle of it is this one prayer. Like the rest of my journal had no prayers, but this one prayer of God, I heard his voice and he called me into ministry.
That's why you keep journals.
I know. Well, my mom kept it and she actually brought it to me. And
did she go through it
She
first?
didn't know that was in
that
there.
Was nice of her.
It was just in with all my stuff. And so I was reading my old journals and found, I had even forgot about that moment. Found that journal entry. It's in the back of my Bible now. But really kind of did nothing with that because I was a teenage girl and didn't really know what that meant. And so I went to college, did not get a degree in ministry or anything of the sort. English and Communications, I really wanted to be an English professor and write books. That was my dream. And so I applied to get my MFA in creative writing, and it was the first time I didn't get into something or didn't get something that I really wanted in my life. I got a no from 5 different programs, which was shocking. I had good grades. I thought that was for sure what I was going to be doing with my life, but it wasn't. And so out of college, I kind of was lost and spiraled a little bit. Like, what am I doing with my life? I moved to Florida with a friend and got a job at the Home Shopping Network.
Okay.
Yeah. I worked on their web team, which was really kind of cutting edge at the time because they were selling everything on TV. And so they were trying to break into the digital space and reach a new audience. So I got to learn a ton about content and websites and all of that, which was really fun. But again, not really what I was called to do.
Yeah.
And so I really just went through this really tough season. I was far from God, and I felt like he was calling me back home. I ended up moving home and getting a job at a marketing agency for almost a decade. I worked there here in Columbus.
Oh, wow.
I liked it, but really felt kind of discontent most of the time that I was working there. Because again, there was something inside of me that was never going to be fulfilled doing that job. And at the time, my husband, Alex, and I had gotten married while I was working there. I met him. We started to have babies. We started to get plugged back into a church. And we met some friends who were planting a church. And they asked if we would be on their launch team. I was like, we have no idea how to plant a church. I have no idea why you're asking us to help you with this.
Anybody really know how to plant a church? I don't know.
I don't know. But we said yes because, again, it was like an early experience of me feeling like I think God is asking us to do this. And my husband was like, I don't know, I'm not hearing that from God, but I trust you. So we went along with it. We helped them plant the church. We ended up staying and became part of the core leadership team there. Eventually, I quit my job at the marketing agency, went back to school, got my degree in ministry. I got ordained through the church that we were attending and became the associate pastor there. And so I was on staff and served and got to do all kinds of amazing things, lead the women's ministry. I was preaching and teaching and leading small groups and got to learn so much about working at a church and having tons of opportunities. And then our church ended up closing, which was just really sad and really hard because we had poured so much of our life into it. We had relationships and just my identity was really wrapped up in serving there. And I lost my license as a minister. And so that happened at the end of 2023. And so we kind of went through a season of healing where we had to step away and we weren't serving. We were attending a church here locally and really got to heal and got to spend time just being in the presence of God and not running a church, but just going to a church. And at the time I went back and actually had the opportunity to consult at my old marketing firm. And so luckily God provided in that season, even just financially. But again, it was not fulfilling to me. I was just doing it because I needed a paycheck. And I also needed something to do because I was sad and kind of lost. And so my contract at the marketing agency was ending this June. And so it had been almost a year and a half of just kind of waiting on the Lord and wrestling through what was next and wondering if I would ever get to do ministry again and what that would look like. And I remember telling my husband, like, I could probably figure out how to stay and keep doing marketing, but this is not what I'm called to do. And I'm ready. And I feel like God is asking me to step into a new season. But it's really hard to find a job in ministry. You don't just go on Indeed and Google jobs at a church. And so I was like, God, I don't know how this is going to happen because the church we were attending just really didn't have openings to work there. Wasn't going to force that. And so I was just praying, like, you're going to have to open a door if this is what you're calling me to. And the next day after talking to my husband about I need to find a job, like, this is where I'm at. And he saw the posting for the Inspire Director job on Instagram and was like, X Church is hiring. And I remember thinking, you know what? God is just really encouraging my heart right now. Like, he's just saying, look, there's ministry jobs out there. Like, I haven't forgotten you. There's a job that would be perfect for you. And I thought God was just like, don't give up hope. Don't give up hope in working in a church again. But I was also like, I'm totally going to apply for this job. It's like my dream job and I would love to do it, but I don't know anybody there. We're not going to that church. And so I was just happy that God even showed me that this job existed. And so I applied and then got an email a couple of days later for an interview and had an absolute screaming excitement meltdown in my kitchen because I was just so thankful to, again, just even get an interview, just even have the chance to come in and meet everybody. And so here I am. And
hey, you're really good at telling a very concise story.
Yes.
That was amazing.
I was so scared it was going to take 1,000 years.
No, that was great.
Yes. There's so much more to the story.
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
Very layered, very nuanced, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
Yes, that's kind of where I've been and
Yeah.
how I got here.
We're so glad to have you.
I know.
Oh my gosh. I cannot tell you how happy I am.
Yeah,
It's been
and
fun.
you and I have texted before, just in this handoff transition time about how there's so many answered prayers on your end and then also my end. And it's crazy to see how God has woven our stories together and how, I think that my question, I had told you, I was scared that it would just fall apart and that, it wouldn't continue to thrive and grow. And I think that an answered prayer to having someone like you step in, and even on the outside, because I think that there's a lot of value to bring in different insights and different backgrounds and different ideas that wasn't originally part of this house is so rich and vital to the growth of anything. And so just to be a person from the outside coming in is amazing and will bring so much vitality to inspired as a whole. And so many different handoffs of answered prayers on your end and answered prayers on our end as X Church, like looking for an inspired director. And
I love that that's how God works.
Oh,
because
for sure.
those were the very things that I was scared of, right? Is coming in and being an outsider and not knowing anybody and I'm joining this team of people who don't even know me, but that was your prayer. I don't know. It's just wild to me that almost everything I've been afraid of, God's been like, you don't need to be scared of that. I've got it, and I'm providing this for you, and just walk into it. Yeah.
And so I guess like with your story and the transition of inspired, I think like we kind of wanted to open up this conversation to be a wider discussion on transitions and what's hard about them and what does it entail and what goes on into transition and what have you learned and what have you gleaned, what has been easy, what's been fruitful, what's been fruitless about transition. And I thought nobody better than to have Raina on here because she is transitioned into like an empty nester.
Yes.
And I think I've asked you several times, like, is it so sad? And I mean, she's like, well, I think Todd is handling it worse than I am.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, kind of speak into a little bit of like the transitions in your life in the past couple of years.
Okay. Yeah. So my daughter graduated high school last year, and it was kind of scary at first because I'm just like, I don't know where we're going to go. You know, we have this house and all this land, and what are we going to do? And where's she going to go? And fortunately, she's very independent, so I haven't had to worry too much about where she's off to. But and I've never been that kind of mom that's like, oh, they grow up so fast. I'm like, oh, she can dress herself now. Awesome.
Yes.
So
achievement unlocked.
So I think I'm probably more so than some parents enjoying watching her take her next steps.
Yeah.
I'm not like, oh, she's leaving. It's like, okay, I'm excited for this, and just kind of putting it in God's hands and trusting her to make the right decisions and things. So, but yeah, when she moved out, it's like, okay, we have this house and all this land, and now what are we going to do? And I was just bored. Like I was just legit, like, I don't know what, like we would come home and be like, there's no swim meets to go to. It was just like, what are we going to do?
It's like, it comes to an abrupt stop. It's not like a taper off.
For sure.
It just seems like, from what I can see with some of my friends who have graduates, I'm like, it just ends. Just goes away.
Yeah. And then I started thinking about like, okay, well, what do I want? What do I want my life to look like?
Ooh, I love that question.
Yes. And I'm the type of person that I see exactly what I want. And then it's like, okay, how do I get there? I'm not like, oh, what about this or that? It's like, no, I want this.
Nope, I know what I want.
And so it took about a year of just like figuring it out and looking for houses and, the scared of like, do I really want to downsize? And what am I going to do with a smaller house? And what if I don't have
what is
room
it that you wanted? Like, what was your goal?
I was very specific. And the realtor that we worked with was like, you're looking for a needle in a haystack. And I'm like,
it's there.
I believe
somewhere,
it.
And I'm waiting. I think a lifetime of making like rash decisions because I just wanted that end result has got me to the point of being like patient. Like, okay, I'm not going to make this mistake again. Like I'm to the point where I know it's worth the wait. We're fine where we are. Don't love it right now. It's, weird, but I wanted a porch. I wanted to be able to sit on my porch and watch a little small town parade go by. I wanted a garage. And in our little community, that's like 10 houses meet that criteria. And I'm like, we just wait. So we would go through houses and I'm like, it would work, but it's not it, you know? So we just waited. But yeah, it took about a year of going through houses and then we knew, like the second it popped up on our app, we're like,
this is it.
Yeah. Like, I remember we were at dinner before a worship night and we were like texting our realtor, like, we want in this house as soon as it opens up. Like, what do we need to do to get this house? So that was a Wednesday. And then we made an offer. It opened up on Friday, I think, and they accepted our offer Sunday.
Wow.
Put our house on the market that week. It sold a few days later. So it's just been
I feel like that's one of the hardest things to do is the purchase and the sale of a house together. It's always so stressful. I mean, we've only done it like once, but.
Well, everyone's like, well, have you sold your house yet? I'm like, I'm not selling my house until I know where we're going.
Yeah.
Like we'll figure this out.
I don't want to be homeless.
Yeah. And I'm not going to like moving everything to an apartment. I'm like, I'm too old for that. Like, no, it's going to work out. And I was confident and hopeful that our house would sell quick enough that we could find the right place first. And yeah, so. But it's been, ironically though, the place that we did get has an apartment above the garage. So after a year at college, our daughter is back above the garage, but it doesn't feel like she's right there.
It's like It's so cool because it's separated space and she can do her own thing.
Yeah,
and
we really we were sitting on the porch the other day and she was pulling out to head off to work and she just waved and took
Is it
off.
harder for you to have her close and not feel like, I need to know what you're doing?
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. Because I'm tempted every time we're going to dinner. You want to come with us?
Yeah.
So we made chicken. You want to come over for chicken? It's like, if she's hungry and wants to
She's
go,
hungry,
she'll tell me.
she'll knock
be
on
like,
our
what are you guys
door.
doing for dinner? So yeah.
But you're right. She is so responsible.
Yeah.
And she's
very independent.
very mature beyond her years.
Yeah. So it's good. And she's doing 2 internships now on top of school. So it's great. She doesn't have, rent to pay right now. I mean, she
for
did that. She went out, she
Yeah.
paid her rent. She, lived that life
Yep.
and she did a great job with it. And now we're hopefully focused on what her next, because she's going to graduate within a year and it'll just be, the internships will help her get her next job. So I'm like, I'm glad that we were able to provide this. Like,
Yes.
there's no other house in our town that has an apartment above the garage, I don't think, So it just worked out perfect. Just had to be patient and just put it in God's hands and just trust that
That can be
it would
so
work out.
hard, though,
So hard.
I know.
when you're in a transition.
Yes.
To wait for the right
Yes.
thing.
Yes, it is.
we don't
Yeah,
like
I was
to
just about
be-
to ask you what was the hardest part about your whole transition?
Just that time of not knowing, like that, not knowing 100% with confidence we're doing the right thing, like that we're going to find the house we want, that we're not going to regret moving out of this house. That
Yeah, I think the regret is a big thing with transitions.
And you don't know if you're going to get a money pit, because
Yeah.
these houses we are looking at were very old and you just don't know what you're going to get and if it's going to work out. And the regret was the main thing. Like, are we making the right decision? Are we doing, where we lived, we've always had a dog, we love our dogs. And then our dog passed away right before she graduated and we haven't had a dog since. So I'm like, where we are now, we probably can't have a dog. So I'm like, are we going to regret that in a year? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just goofy stuff like that.
well, you can have a dog, maybe just not a Great Dane.
That's what I would want.
Is that what you had before?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh my gosh.
Giant Great
Yes.
Dane.
So just stuff like that. But it's been great. Like just being patient and going through the process. And I want everything the way I want it. Like the house wasn't the color I wanted. And I knew exactly what I wanted, but I had to go through the historical society. And then, we had to find the right painter. And the old me would have been like, whoever can get it done the quickest, the fastest. That's who we
Yeah.
want. And it's like, no, we're going to get quotes. We're going to do this right.
So you're saying that like there's been some internal growth in this process
Yes.
as well.
Yes, for sure. Just looking back on like when I bought a car and regretted it or, did those
Yeah.
things just impulsively. And it's like, okay, I'm going to do this right. Like, people, it's probably going to sound really silly, but people have come, my daughter, for example, she's just like, nothing matches in this room. Like, why is this furniture dark? And I'm like, that's going to be my one dark piece. Everything else is going to lighten up and it's going to be the statement piece. But it's going to take time to like find the right
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
And so I'm not rushing into anything. I'm like slowly,
There's a
getting it
plan,
where I want it.
and it will
Yes.
unfold.
Yes.
Yes.
That's hard for me, but it's been rewarding to see it slowly come together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you have a whole lifetime
Yeah.
to allow it
Yeah.
to unfold,
That's my figure. Yeah. So yeah, it's been great. We don't have any regrets. We love it. But part of the problem is just me knowing exactly what I want and then that wait and that being patient to get there and then worry like what compromises am I going to make? Like when we started moving in, I was panicking about like just where do I put
Space.
everything and space and closets and all that. But it, eventually it sits there long enough and you're like, yeah, I don't need that.
Okay, so I'm sure that in this process of downsizing, there was a lot of like Marie Kondo, like what sparks joy, like what do I get rid of? Like, did you encounter any of that within a transition of like
Yes.
you're decluttering and you're getting rid of a lot of things?
Yeah. I do that pretty well. Like
I would
I'm
imagine
not great with doing that with clothes. Like literally what could be a spare bedroom upstairs is the closet. Like
Nice.
that is my closet. Todd has a little closet in our bedroom and I took, and that it makes me happy and that's just how it's going to have to be. But, there were a few things where I told Todd, I'm like, you're going to have to make this disappear when I'm not home.
So. Oh yeah, a
There
little
were
bit
few
harder.
things. Ellie's dollhouse that he made for her.
Oh yeah.
We had this giant custom painting of our dog. It was like, and I'm like, I know we don't need this anymore. We don't even, there's nowhere to even put this, even if I wanted it still, but just make it disappear when I'm not home.
I understand all that.
And
I'm
I'm
so
all got
sentimental
burned.
I
about
was gonna say
things.
sentimental.
So hard to
Yes.
get rid of stuff like that.
So like, just make it disappear. There
Did
were a
he
few
do
things.
it?
Oh yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
he's not sentimental.
Not really. No.
Yeah.
No.
I think it's a good
Yeah,
pairing.
you need the pair.
He loves a good bonfire. He just threw it all on there.
Yeah, it was kind of ironic him being a firefighter.
It was a
he's-
safe bonfire.
Yes. He's more than happy to just throw it all on there. And even Ellie was like, my dollhouse, she's kind of a
Oh God,
hoarder a
Yes.
little bit. But I'm like, we have no room for this. Just stuff like that. Yeah. It's been good. So
Yeah.
Christmas decorations and
Oh yeah, well you don't have as big of a house to decorate, so
like even our tree is too big. So
oh
it's like
yeah,
everything is, just,
But then you get new Christmas decorations.
yeah. And our
That can be
porch,
fun.
like because of where we are, people drive by it all the time. So I've got to step up
You're
my
like
porch game.
all of
yeah.
my decorations will be on my porch.
Exactly. So,
Yes.
but yeah, I did Marie Kondo the heck out of some things,
Yeah.
but it was good.
Okay, so same thing for you. I guess like I'm just curious about the transition that you've made and what has been beautiful, but also what has been hard. I mean,
Yeah.
real life talk.
It's been really hard. I wrote down, I was thinking about this, and I wrote that the hardest part was like the loss that we experienced. I think a lot of times with transitions, you're losing something. Like you're having to
Absolutely.
leave
There's
something
some grief.
behind to step into whatever's new. And so the loss and having to surrender that to God was the hardest, but also the most beautiful thing, because without going through that and without experiencing that loss, and I wouldn't have experienced Jesus in the way that I experienced him during that season. I was desperate for him for, a year to a year and a half of my life, just constantly on my knees, begging for him to help me through the grief and the pain and just the questioning of like, why would this happen? And what's going to come next, God? And he didn't always answer me. And I even remember wrestling through a season of anger with God, which was wild because I don't think I had ever, at least not acknowledged in my life, that I was mad at God before. And so even just having to like come to grips with the fact that I was angry at him and having to say that and process that with God. But I got to experience Jesus as a friend to me in ways that I never had before. And so to me, that was beautiful as well as hard. And
sure.
I was talking to someone about where I'm at with God now, and I feel like I've kind of lost a little bit of that desperation for him because I'm through it. And now I'm here and I'm so happy. And I leave work every day just like, I'm so happy. I get to be here and I'm walking in an answered prayer. But I also don't want to lose that. Like, I still need you, God, to show up for me right now, even though you've answered my prayers and brought me into this awesome place. Like, I still need you to show up for me to be able to step into this and to do what you're calling me to do next. And so just really trying to keep that desperation for him alive inside of me too. Yeah.
I've said this before, I think, but I always think of like times when because sometimes people talk about it like being in the valley or being on a mountaintop.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes like when we're in the valley, it's very, counterintuitive because we feel like we're far, but then when we're not in the valley anymore, that's when we realize I was very close and God was very close to me. And so it's the dynamic of like, how do I be on the mountain? How do I walk in answered prayers, but also still have that longing of, that I need you still. I mean, I might not be experiencing turmoil on the inside or even the outside, but how can I like continue to still need you? And I almost think of sometimes like prayers of thanksgiving or gratitude as like putting it as like an investment into a bank because someday I'm going to need those.
Yeah.
Because someday I'm not going to have prayers of gratitude because I'm not going to want to thank him for a like a salty lot, I guess, like the short end of the stick, right? But I think that that's when we need those prayers of gratitude so that we can draw on that investment, like draw off the top of that investment. It's just like, I don't, because we're told to continue to be thankful and we're told to continue to praise it. And sometimes we just don't have it in us. And, so we have to go back to that bank and that investment of, I know I was grateful for what you did one time and I don't see a way right now, but I'm going to need that thankfulness, that prayer of gratitude now.
I feel like going through stuff like that too, like I try to think of it as this is going to help somebody else someday, you know, and you're going to be leading so many women in our church and your story is going to help somebody. And then you're going to have renewed inspiration from knowing that it helps somebody else too. You know what I mean?
sure.
So I think that whenever we go through hard times, it's hard to tell people that in the moment.
It is.
But it's like eventually you're going to realize this is going to help someone else. Your experience is going to help somebody else that when they go through that, you know, and that's kind of how I feel like I was transitioning from corporate to ministry like 8 years ago. And so I totally get that. And it's a crazy transition, I know, but I just try to think everything's going to help someone else, you know, as they go through it. I can help them hopefully and try to take comfort in that, you know. God's going to use all of our stories like that. So
this question kind of came to me, and it might be too like nuanced to talk about, but we were talking about Marie Kondo. That's her name, right?
Marie Kondo?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
And there's a stripping away of material possessions. But I think what I heard you talking about in the transition was there was a stripping away of impatience. And so I'm curious kind of like where does your mind go when you think through transition, and like what has been stripped away and what is becoming? Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. I know that's like a very layered question, but if you have an answer.
Thinking about the right way to articulate it.
yeah.
There's a lot of things that God has had to strip away from me, like through the last year and a half. I was carrying a lot of fear just about everything. I was very insecure. A lot of it was self-imposed. It wasn't necessarily like put upon me by anybody else, but I just feel like as I'm walking into this new season, there's always that little bit of me that's like very insecure about having, and do I have to impress everybody and prove myself? And it's just, I feel like God is constantly saying, don't put that back on. Like you are going to be yourself. And that is what I want you to be. And yes, you can grow, and yes, you can learn, and yes, you can be better, but you don't have to strive. You don't have to be something that you're not. I called you as you are to be here. And so just like a constant reminder and almost a refusal to step back into that, like pretending and masks and having to just like prove myself all the time and being afraid of what people are going to think of me. So
People pleasing is what kind of comes to my mind with this. Like,
Yep.
because we would walk through like our house now, like we don't have a spare bedroom. We don't have a big backyard. It's like, how are we going to host Christmas? Or we're like, this is what's right for us. You know, even though there's other people that might be like, it's not big enough for this or that, or how are we going to handle this? It's like, this is what's right for us. And I have to just remember that. And we made the decisions and we're doing what's right for us as a married couple, as, you know, our next season of life approaches. And we just had to focus on that, you know, and not worry about what other people were going to think or disappoint or, you know. People pleasing. That's a tough one for me.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay, so I have to ask you, Sam, because on this podcast we've referred to Enneagram several times. Do you know what Enneagram number you identify with?
Yeah. I'm a 2.
Okay.
Wing 3.
Okay. So we at this table we have a 1, a 2, and a 3. Yeah. So I mean, we've talked about Enneagram, like I said. It is a very it's a deep revelatory knowing and understanding of who you are. We've recommended books, but one of the books I always say if you're curious about the Enneagram is The Road Back to You by Ian Cron. Cron, I think that's his name. And I would really encourage you to do that. But we've kind of started talking about like these specific things that have bubbled up through transitions. And as you're speaking about them, I'm like, this is part of an Enneagram 1, 2, or 3. And so like the fear and the people pleasing, that's very indicative of an Enneagram 2. So you might be wing 2 maybe.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that you told us that you're a 2. How has becoming like living into your 2-ness, like, can you kind of sum up like what a 2 is known for? And because you referred to true self I heard you talking about like God just wants you to show up as your true
Yeah.
self. And so like what does that look like for you as you step out of fear and into confidence of where you are right now?
Yeah. Well, it's like a work in progress.
Oh, for
I think
sure.
every single day I have to decide that I want to show up as me, not who I think I need to be, and even through, it was funny, through the interview process, I was constantly like, just be yourself.
Yeah.
Don't show up as anybody else, because I want to be wanted for who I am, not for who I think I should be. And I remember, I think I was talking to Pastor Russ at one point in the interview, and I told him something. I think I told him I was like worried about what to wear, which is such a silly thing to say in an interview. And he's like, "You're just so honest." And I'm like, "Good, I'm doing it. I'm being myself." And so I was just like honestly trying and praying and still like doing that. And I think it's a battle all the time
for sure.
to not want to impress and that not be my motive in conversations, and for that not to be the aim of what I'm doing all the time, and to just do what God wants me to do instead. And I think having, platform's a bad word and maybe not the right word, but even just my identity working in a church taken away from me and having to just sit and not have a voice and I have to now. Like it was actually a really beautiful thing to be almost forced into having to reset completely and have a lot of that taken away, to the point where it's like, I don't want to pick it back up if I'm going to step into something new. And it was a complete like blank slate. I didn't know anybody here, not anybody. And so I don't want to show up and reset in that same way and start building on something false.
Yeah.
So not that I was inauthentic before.
Oh, for
and
sure.
that's
It's
not
just,
what I'm saying.
You were so much more aware of your propensity to step into like a built up image of who you want to be. Nobody else is aware of that.
Yeah,
and
that's self-awareness.
It's
To the
good
next
self-awareness. Yeah. But you're right. Like, yeah, it's a gift for a clean slate.
It is. It's terrifying.
It is
too.
terrifying. You're like, I just think of like a blank canvas, and like whenever I like to paint, but I feel like I'm not very good at it. But like it's intimidating.
It
like
is.
when you sit down to a blank canvas and that first stroke of paint is like, oh, I messed up. I've got to throw this away. Like, because that's what it feels like sometimes is the approaching the blank canvas and like, I want to do this right, God.
Yeah.
And help me to pick the right color and like, and then like, just like Bob Ross, like making happy little mistakes and like God
you
makes
learn that no matter what you do, you're going to be able to.
I know we need to
fix
ask you, because the indicative part of an Enneagram 1 is the perfectionism side of a 1. So how has that played into like the perfectionist? Because you even said like, I know what I want. And so how have you shed the layers of things that you have tried to like hold on to, the
also
armor that you've used? Yeah.
Control is a big thing too with an Enneagram 1. And that's been hard to just give up control and just, like when you have a daughter that's going off to college and that just, I don't know what she's doing and I don't know who she's spending time with. And, is she going to be okay? And is she making friends? And you just have to just put that in God's hands. I know she grew up in church. I know that her faith is strong, and I know that she's made some great friends through church. And I just have to
so hard.
That is so hard.
have to trust that and just pray that we have the type of relationship that if she does have a problem or does need help, that she'll come to me. But yeah, that is very challenging.
Well, so really what you're saying is now with Ellie, like you're kind of like at the harvest time, like, cause you had her whole life to sow in, and
that's a great way to put it. That's exactly, you can articulate it so much better than I can, but that's exactly it. It's like, I've done everything I can, and now it's time to just see her thrive. And hopefully she knows that I'm here as a net, and I think that is an Enneagram 1 thing. I can fix anything. Like I will just go in and fix
for sure
anything. So whatever it is, hopefully she'll know that she can come to me and we'll just figure it out, And I think that's something that I've told her over and over again. Like, cause you hear about teenagers with depression and just everything like that. I'm like, it doesn't matter what happens or what you do or what mistake you make, we can fix it.
Yeah.
And I've tried to say that over and over again as she grew up. Like, we can fix anything. But yeah, I think it's the control part of the Enneagram 1 that's been the biggest struggle.
And I also love that you just say like, we can fix it, because, and not to like water down. I think sometimes we can be fed a message of like, well, and this is true, that God is big enough and like God will help you. And that is so true, but also so abstract and so undefined and different for everybody that sometimes it just helps, like as a parent that you have the fall, or as a kid that you have the fallback neck of the parents of saying like, you know, it's almost kind of like that analogy of like when your kids grow up, like they're running on your faith, right? Because you have the opportunity to be the light in their life and to be Jesus's hands and feet to them and, you know, serve them, minister to them. And then all at once, it almost just, I think I referred to this last episode, it's like you're just letting out the rope. Like you're letting out the leash and you're letting them go explore and find out who they are. But it's still so comforting to know, like, okay, if I really do have a problem, then like I can tangibly fix this.
Exactly.
So
yeah. And even like I like to paint too, and I kind of have, in the beginning I had that same mindset of like, oh, I'm just gonna throw this away and start over. So it's like everything comes back, like there's a way to fix anything, you know. This bush can become a sheep or whatever it is on my painting. Like it's fixable, you know. So.
If you've never taken one of Raina's painting classes, you should. And I haven't. I'm saying that right now. I just haven't taken one, but yeah, you're right. It's you know, it's a gift to be able to course correct. And because listen, what that is, it's really the definition of grace. Because the ability that God fills in when we're unable to be perfect or to be in control, because we really don't have much control. And for him to come in and lovingly guide and to course correct or whatever, well, he can make a bush into a sheep.
Exactly.
For sure.
He can do anything.
I'm trying to think of like with Enneagram 3, I think in this process of transition for me, you know, I think the ironic thing is like I've probably found myself in many instances of life, like childhood, is that I've always been out front and it's not that I like being out front. It's just like, I know how to. And I think that this, I told someone the other day that, and I know this sound like mean of God, but it's not. That I feel like in some degree I'm like being held hostage, because just like you said, like you felt like that church was taken away, or like the role was taken away from you, but you had to have that quietness and like that sitting in the unknown, to be formed into a new creation. Some parts of you became new and revived again. And so I feel like the Enneagram 3-ness, because most of the times they are like they're out front and they can do things and help people and lead people and whatever. And I feel like to a certain extent with the transition that I'm in, that I've gone inward. And I told someone the other day, I feel like I'm like almost in a hermit crab shell, like where, you know, like a hermit crab just draws in. And in many ways, just like looking around being like, what am I here for? And it's okay. It's actually been a very safe place to be, because it's in God's presence. And I know that I'm being formed, and I know that I'm being shaped, and I know that I'm being stretched and all of that. So it's really good. But at the same time, like there's like this tension of joy and sorrow and grief and change and, you know, just being able to be open-handed about it all, I think has been the best posture, I guess is what I'm trying to say. The best posture in transition is being open-handed. So,
yeah. Maybe you're in a cocoon.
I know. I like, someone had said a cocoon one time. I said, I think I like that better. I like soft, warm blankets. So that sounds great.
And there's change happening inside of a cocoon. And there's something after the cocoon. Yeah.
But in a natural Enneagram, like what's next? Like what am I going to do next? You know, kind of thing, and eager to figure that out. But I'm just at the moment, just
in your own transition.
Yep.
Phase.
I'll be submissive.
Yeah.
In the quieter spaces. So,
and you know, even when you feel like nothing's happening, there's so much happening.
Oh,
God is doing
yeah.
so many things, even when we feel like we're sitting so still. Like nothing's happening. I'm just sitting here. I read back on my journals like what is nothing's happening. I'm just sitting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And I can look back now and be like, God was doing so much during that time when I felt like nothing was happening.
Yeah.
That it's amazing to me. And I love how, I think you were talking with Janice just about like how important it is to look back and remember. And we always want to look ahead. And even what you're saying now, like what's next? And that's how I felt too. Like what's next? What's next? But God's like, you have to keep looking back or you're never going to be able to even acknowledge that during that season when it felt like nothing was happening, that I was doing so much work. So the next time you can remember that I'm working even when it feels like
that's a hard, like a hard pause for me because like, I think I've even read something recently about like with Enneagram and the numbers. I can't remember which numbers they are, but I know a 3 is a future oriented. So everything is forward.
Yep.
And they live in the future. And so it's I have to be very mindful of like what you said, of looking back. And sometimes it comes easy for people. I can't remember, like I said, what numbers are in the past, but there are numbers that live in the past. I think a 1 lives in the past because they deal with regret several times. And so, but yeah, you're right. A hard pause on we have to look back. And then that makes me think I need a journal because I'm not journaling. I journal every once in a while, but I mean, I used to. I have journals on journals on journals of, stuff.
That's why I do it. So I can look back.
I should.
Honestly, it forces me to because I'm the same way as you. I like to look forward. And I think God is a forward-thinking God. And he plans and orchestrates so many things. But he also wants us to be able to look back. And I won't remember if I don't have things written down.
We can't see the big picture the way he can.
I'll only remember the little bits and pieces that I want to in the moment and not the full picture of what was happening.
Yeah.
So,
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm just impressed that you're still able to journal like when you have a younger one because I think that's why I stopped journaling.
It's not perfect. And,
because
and I
I'm
don't
like,
do it
who
every
has
day.
time for this? Like just, I think at some point it became like, it would take me a lot quicker if I just said this to God instead of wrote it down because it just would take longer. So, but yeah, you're right. Looking past to be able to have the right picture, looking forward is always very important. But okay, so we're gonna close this up. I want to give you an opportunity if you had something starred on your notes that was good to bring up. But I kind of want to end today just by, I think if you could kind of sum up what helps keeping you grounded in the times that you are transitioning. So like I've heard both of you say at some point, like there was just so much unknown. But was there a practice? Was there like a ritual or a thought or a place or something that you did that kept you grounded in the transition?
I think there's got to be a level of self-awareness where, this is what's happening. Okay. I feel this way because I'm impatient because I want this. And then it's like this self-talk of it will come, be patient. Remember when you bought that on an impulse and totally regretted it. Remember when you did this, just be patient. And for me, I don't know if that sounds silly, but it's like self-talk, like being self-aware of what's happening, what I'm feeling, why I'm feeling it, and then just talk myself through like what I need to do.
Okay, but I'm going to tell you right now that even just a self-awareness, that's a big step for people.
Hard, yes.
So like you said just a series of questions. What were they? Why do I feel this way?
Yes. What do I want? What am I trying to get towards? Why am I so impatient to get there?
Yeah.
And then try to remember the times when you've made the wrong decision in the same situation, bought the wrong thing or, whatever it is, something that was regrettable in the past, or you rushed into something and you had to live with this decision or whatever. And just talking myself through that, like it will come, it's tomorrow's
Those are great.
Those
are great questions though. Like, what do I want? And why do I feel this way? I think that's a hard question for people to answer.
Yeah. And sometimes I had to even just stop and ask myself, how do I feel about this? Like, how do I really feel about this? Because I wasn't even like letting myself process how I was feeling before I could even ask why I'm feeling that way.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but that is hard. Self-awareness that's hard. I think being on ministry staff, we're always digging deep into ourselves like that.
Yeah.
And so it maybe becomes a little bit more natural over time. That was a big change and transition when I first started working in ministry. So I think that's something it's worth diving into.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
What about you?
I wrote Jesus on my paper, which is like so cliche. And I think sometimes when you're in the valley, like you said, it can be hard to like even figure out how to cling to Jesus. And so for me, I had to have people that constantly like pointed me back. I joined an incredible women's Bible study during this season. And I was in that Bible study for almost the entire year and a half that I was just like healing. And the women there like knew my story and they knew my heart and constantly pointed me back to Jesus and helped me wait well, because I think it can be so hard, like you said, to be patient and to just not want to jump and figure out how to fix all of this myself. And my husband was amazing. You said, is there a place? We have a hot tub, and this is like the place we go when we want to have uninterrupted conversations because there's no kids today, there's no phones. And so I would be like, we need to like get in the hot tub because I need to talk to you. And so I just think having a circle of people when you're in seasons like this that are trustworthy and that can help you walk through a transition is important.
Yeah. I'm listening to both of you saying like these different things that have kept you grounded. And to be honest, like as I sit here thinking, I think that it's also depends on like the time of life you're in, because I have been in a place where I'm like, I need to tackle the what am I doing? Why do I feel this way? And then I've also like, there's been a season of life where what's kept me grounded is community and deep community. And I think in my season, like I would say it was like, it's probably the opposite of community, which is probably a more like introverted, like what's in here and what needs to be, I don't want to say fixed, because I don't think it's being fixed. I think it's just being renewed. Like what inside of me needs to be renewed. Like, what am I chasing? What am I doing? What is this for? And, asking these questions. And so in some ways it has felt like a very introverted, lonelier journey, but still I come in on a Sunday and I'm not alone. You're not. And there's never a time that it's not that I have lack of community. It's just the processing is becoming more inward than outward at this moment. Yeah. And so I think just whatever you're going to find yourself on a big spectrum of ways in which to cope with transition. And sometimes one will ground you more than another. But I love that you said Jesus, because he meets in all those places. He's the self-awareness and the Holy Spirit of revealing inside of you. He's also in the community. I mean, his church and his body of Christ. And he's also in the private moments of like prayer and like introspection and meditation and, all things like that. So you hit the nail on the head. And I know, that sounds like such a cliche answer, because I think that sometimes I'll be like, what'd you talk about today? Jesus. But it is true, because he is in all things. Yes. And so I think that's really beautiful. But thank you for talking about your transition. And Sam, thanks for sharing your story. I know that it's not always easy. Yeah. And I think that it was just a great way and a glimpse into the women and the males. We have every once in a while, we have some males listening to this, but just to give a little snippet of your story. And I'm, like you said, there's still so many different parts. Oh, yeah. And I think that that's great, because it's going to come out in the conversations and the relationships that you build along the way and for years to come. Yes. So I'm excited that you're here to be a part of this conversation. You as well, Raina, and kind of sharing just your life transition with empty nesters and downsizing and all of that. But I want to invite you back to next episode. We're going to have Sam back on the episode. So from here on out, Sam will be on the episode. So you'll get to hear her lovely voice and what her voice as a whole of like what Jesus has done inside of her and what she holds in, the things that he has taught her throughout all of these life things that we talk about on this podcast. So come back for next episode and we'll see you then.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Inspired Podcast. If something in today's conversation encouraged you, share it with a friend or reach out. We'd love to hear from you at inspired@thex.church. And remember, wherever you are, you're not alone. You are designed by God, invited to discover more, and welcome to dwell with him.